Now I see the top of Marion's head.
Yeah. There you go. I can see it. Thank you, sir.
Okay, I'm recording it also. Okay. All right. Let's see if there are any questions about last week's lesson. Are there any questions? No questions? All right. Lesson 24 then. What we have here is a perfect indicative active. This is it's an irregular verb, all right? And so that means it doesn't always follow the rules. Okay. So let's look at it. We have John 3:2, oidaman hote apo theou luthos didaskalos. Now, this is a new word for us, oidaman, and it comes from the word oida. That's one of our words we have down here, oida, which is kind of an odd word in a sense, because what it has is it is irregular in the sense it doesn't have a present tense form. Remember, we had some verbs that they put two words together. Earlier we talked about those. This is one of those words. It's from oida, which is the second perfect. Now that's what we're looking at here of ido. Now, this word is in classical Greek, but it's not in Koine. It dropped out. So they lost that word. But this is from ido. And the present tense form is horao, which we've already studied. And so horao is the present form, but oida is in the perfect. So they use separate words here. And there's some subtle differences in the meaning of the words, right? So I put a footnote in here. This is not in the copy you got right here. And that is number 11. This form is obsolete. So I just went ahead and put it in. And so oida is found 318 times in the New Testament. So it might be something you want to learn. And so we have oida, oidas, oide, oidaman, oidate, and oidasi. These are your forms. So that's the forms we might want to learn. All right. But horao is replaced it. And it is a different word, but there's some differences in the meaning of the two. So let's go back. Let's look at oida just a bit in the lexicon that I sent you, the lexicon file. Oida in the lexicon file that I sent you is first person singular, second perfect, indicative active of ido. That's the word we said is obsolete. It's an obsolete form of the present tense, the place which is supplied by horao. All right. So this word means to be, we use this in English. We'll say, someone will start explaining something, we say, oh, I see. What that means is now I understand it. And so this word then carries that meaning. Whereas horao doesn't carry that meaning. There's a difference in them. So in the present tense, it's more of seeing with the eyes. But this is to see with the eye of the mind. Ido is. Think of it in that way. All right. Now, what happens is the authorities tell us idin, that's your infinitive form, is to perceive with the eyes. And horon, from horao, the infinitive form, is more physical. So that's explained in Thayer here. Other months, Muhl, not months, but Muhl, he explains it here a little bit here, but he says that is a possession of previously acquired knowledge. Now, how would the perfect tense tell us that? I've only got one student from the last class last week. James, can you help me?
Yes, sir. And the question again? I mean,
My question is, how would it, being in the perfect tense, carry that idea of acquired knowledge? This meaning right here that I've highlighted. Your perfect tense is something that was true in the past and what?
still true. Still
true.
has implications.
Yeah. So that's why it carries that idea probably. That's part of it. That may be why they kept it in that form. I don't know. I have no idea. But it's in the perfect tense. It's in this form from this word. And but so it's a knowledge that you acquired in the past, but you still have it. I know. I understand. I see with my eye and my mind. Okay. Let's go back to our lesser questions. All right. Let me come over here and we'll find horao. You can see a little bit about it. Remember, it's only, I'll put it in there and scan for it. There it is. That's to see with the eyes, with the mind. All right. And then Thayer tells us in a synonym form, we have also blepo. This is infinitive, of course, from blepine. It's blepo. So he explains them a little bit more as well. Thayer does on page 42. You have all this information. Any questions there? Just subtle differences, and synonyms can kind of help enrich your studies and might even help in explaining things. Let's go back here. Oidamen, see the amen ending, the men ending, which would be what person?
Second person plural.
Second person plural. Chris, are you there? Okay.
First person plural, I mean.
Is that Thomas? Who was speaking?
Shane.
Shane, okay. All right. Omanateusi. So that's men. That's your first person plural. All right. So this is Odaman is first person plural, perfect. So we know now. Who is speaking here? Do you remember who's speaking in John 3:2?
Nicodemus.
Nicodemus. So he says, we know. Now, what's he saying there?
Others beside him know that to be true.
That is, I'm not the only one that believes this way. There's some others. We don't know how many, but we know from the plural there's at least two, don't we? And we can name two of them that did believe. And there was Nicodemus and who? Joseph Arimathea?
Mm-hmm.
And there may have been others. I think if we read carefully, we'll find that they all believed on him, but they wouldn't. Many believed on him, but they wouldn't confess it. That's to be put out of the synagogue. So that's kind of dishonest, you know. That's pretty carnal. I'd rather have this in this life rather than the life to come. We know. What do we know?
You're a teacher that can come from God.
Okay, now right here, this is also a form that we have down here. Can you remember what word this is? It's down here. We haven't introduced it yet, but it's down here, right? And so right here, there's that form, and it's down here with the word erkomai. It's from erkomai. That's what it is. And so you have come. This is incorrect here. This should be you. You have come. I'll correct it. All right. Any comments? All right. So, and so you have come and have still, see, it's abiding, uh, abiding results of past action. So you're a teacher who's come from God. Okay. All right. Any questions? All right. Now, the irregular kappa perfects, a few verbs have a kappa and with the perfect stems and different from the present stems. You just have to learn them. That's part of the problem. Gnosko is one of them. Ra'o, and here's your gnosko. And remember your root there, your stem is no. Egnoka. Egnoka. I have known. Ra'o changes words. Oraka. Oraka. And so I have seen. And this is from Oida. Okay. I have seen. Orao. And so again, it changes words on us. Other questions? Right. Now, second perfect, the earliest formation was without the kappa sign, what he tells us. And there are a few verbs that remain that have that, but the kappa sign come in pretty heavy. They differ from the first perfects only in not having the kappa. The only difference, they just don't have a kappa. And here are your rules for it. A mute stem in a rough or aspirated form is pi and beta become phi, right? And kappa and gamma become chi, tau delta become beta. So go back, you see our rule coming in. Beta. Let's see here. Beta. Yeah. Okay. Either strong or weak verbs may take the perfect form. Right. Now, principal parts of erchomai is found, you see, I put a footnote in here, 632 times in the New Testament. So it's probably an important word to learn, okay? Might be good to learn it. We have erchomai. Remember, we have a different form now. It takes a different word. And aelthon, and so it doesn't even look like it's from a different word. They got married together. So this is your principal parts here. That will be present tense. What will this be?
Aorist.
Future.
Future.
Oh, future.
Because the sigma you can tell. All right. And then there's your what? That's your aorist, isn't it? And over here's your perfect. And your imperfect will have the same form as aorist in this case here. All right. So here's your perfect of, and this is your form now. Singular form, L.A. Luther. L.A. Luther. L.A. Luthos, L.A. Luthe, L.A. Luthomen, L.A. Luther, Thate, and L.A. Luthos. So it does have an infinitive. L.A. Luthe, Thena. I do have come. Right? So this is from erchomai. So it has a completely different form. So you have the form of it from erchomai here. And it's kind of an important word since it's found so many times. So, and we'll get down into our translation a little bit later, okay? All right. Difference in your second perfect, first perfect is just in the form. It has no difference in meaning. Both represent the present result of a past action. Keep in mind, the English perfect does not totally express the Greek perfect. It's a mistake to make them equal. And this is just different ways of forming the same tense. That's all the difference. First and second perfect. Any questions? All right. So let's look at oida just a minute. It's found a bunch of times. It's only found 318 times, but that's still a significant number. And right here we have oida, and oidas, and oida, odamen, odate, oidas. We can see the men ending in the omenete usi, and the forms pretty well fit, like we've seen. And so this is really going to be a problem for us, I don't think. Your stem is it. There's your stem. Now, the copy of the book that I sent you had a mistake or two in it, which I've corrected. And so there was a mistake right here in your copy. I've corrected that. And so there's your stem. So you can see from the stem, you can see the endings on it. And this was the classical form of it. You can see the man ending on the classical. Other questions? So we have our stem, and we have the ending. This functions like your reduplication, omicron does. All right. Now let's go on down to the vocabulary here. A keiko. That's from akuo. And let me go back and review you on something on akuo. Akuo is one of those verbs that can take its object in the accusative, or I believe the genitive or accusative cases. Go back and study it. It has a different meaning in them in the genitive and accusative cases. And remember when Jesus was talking to Saul of Tarsus on the road, and account was given of that in Luke by Luke. And one time he said they didn't hear, another time he said they heard. And that sounded like a contradiction, but they're in different cases, the objects are. And so one of them is to hear with understanding, the other is to hear without understanding. So they heard, but it was without understanding, and the other one said they didn't hear, and it's to hear with understanding. So they didn't hear with understanding, and they're in different. They have different objects. Their cases, their objects are in different cases. Any questions about that?
The example I've always used with that, Marion, is when Charlie Brown is being taught by the teacher and she goes, wah, 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 wah. You don't understand what she's saying, but you hear what she's saying.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else got a comment there? So again, you've got to be real careful. That's the subtlety of it. It may take objects in more than one case. The word didasco takes objects in two cases, right? And we know in dative and we know in the genitive case, okay? Right now. Right here, on Neoga. And this is I have opened. So we have here the opening of something. And this is to have opened, or I have opened and it's still open, what that means. Right? Now, I believe this word is found in not Luke, but Acts 16. Luke recorded it in Acts 16 when the heart of Lydia was open. And when you study that, you go back and you can see it was opened by the things that was by Paul actually. Paul actually opened their heart. And the word hupo, which is primary agency, is used by Paul, and it's by the things that he spoke. So Paul is the primary agent. Normally, God is the primary agent, but you see, Calvinists have the Holy Spirit doing it there, and they've completely missed the point with regard to it. But I have that in my Holy Spirit book, one of my books, and I can't remember. I think it's volume 2 of the work of the Holy Spirit. Just go to the passage and find it in the index. Gagonai from ginomai. That's to become or to be. It's a being verb. So to become. I have become gegrapta. Grapha, and it's from grapho, which is I have written and it's still written. So we run into this form quite a lot, not in first person, but it is written, the third person, and probably usually singular, third person singular. It is written in this form, perfect tense, whenever they quote from the Old Testament scriptures. So you find that quite a lot. Elepha. And that's another word that gets a little bit different form. That's lambano. All right, I have taken. Remember, what did we say about lambano, James? It can be in the passive or active voice. Now, what's my claim on it? Do you remember?
Yes, that if something's given to you, you receive it, or excuse me. A passive is you receive, and active is you take.
Yes, that's my claim. That's how it should be translated, and it makes a lot more sense with several passages when you take it that way. In this, I think it's the 14th chapter of John, the Spirit of truth whom the world cannot receive. Well, it's actually in the active voice. The world cannot take him. What were they doing to Jesus? They were going to crucify him. What are they going to do to the second comforter? They can't touch him at all. Right? Does that make sense? They can't take him away from you. The Holy Spirit won't be taken away from the apostles. That makes all the sense in the world about what that passage is talking about. Okay. Any comments? All right. Elelutha, we've already looked at that from erkomai, to come or go. And context would have to tell you whether it's coming or going. Heoraka, from horao, and that's I have seen. All right. And oida, which also goes with horao, but it's the form. And we have I have seen or I know. I see with the eye of the mind. And from Pasco, pay pointa. And so this is I have suffered. Right? Now, in the noun form of it, the paschal lamb, that is the lamb that suffers at Passover. So the word Passover is an invented word in the English language. It was invented, I've forgotten exactly when, but if you go back and get, that's the dictionary that looks back at the etymology, that would have to be the Oxford Dictionary. The Oxford Dictionary, English Dictionary, will give it when it came into the language. I think it was like 15 or 1600s came in. Just, I think it may have come in, it was an invented word around 1500 or so. Okay. Right. Tetuka, and that's from Tukano. Now, this word Tukano, in a little bit different form with some prepositions on it, is found in Romans 8, 26, 27. Hooper in Tukano and in Tukano. The preposition in and hooper. And so we have it in two different forms there, translated both of them the same way to make intercession. I think because the Holy Spirit used different words, he intended for us to draw some kind of distinction. That's my conclusion. I don't see the Holy Spirit just throwing words around for variety. He had a purpose in it. Egnoka. And so right here we have from Gnosko. That's I know. I have no. K-Krog, K-Kroga, K-Kroga. And this is from Krabzo is I cry out. Are there questions?
Yes, on Tuncano.
Yeah.
The I happen, you happen, he happens. What's the idea for happen in those cases?
Well,
It's not common English.
no, succeed is idea. We could look it up in the lexicons and see how they render it. These are glosses. This is the gloss that probably you'd have in the first person. And you happen to do this. I'm gonna look it up in Thayer right now. Okay, let's just take a quick
Okay.
look at it. Tucano.
It seems to be somewhat different than the concept of interceding. It happens.
I'm sorry, taking a moment here. But don't make even say but says like with the javelin, reach or obtain something. And so this happen to succeed kind of doesn't get back to the real early meaning of it. You attain to it, you hit the mark. And so, and as throwing a javelin. And hamartano is to send, to miss the mark, isn't it?
Right.
Same root, I'm suspecting. Okay.
So, Marion, is it the result of an action?
Yes, it's a verb, of course.
Yeah.
And so it's a transitive verb, and it's to hit a mark, to hit the mark.
But would it be on the personal level?
Well, it would be, I guess, if it's a singular, certainly, and I think it would be even if it's plural. Let me read what Thayer's first definition, trans, trans, which means transitive, properly to hit the mark, opposed to hamartano, which is the word to send, to miss the mark. So he has it as in opposition to it. But that's with the throwing of a javelin or an arrow, or shooting an arrow. And tropically, or which means it's figurative, to reach or attain or obtain, to get or become master of a thing. But it can be intransitive. Some verbs can be both. And it can happen to happen or to chance or to fall out. And might be or perhaps is another way to translate it. Now, how would you know if it's transitive or intransitive? Well, transitive verb will have its object in the accusative case. And if it's not, its object isn't in the accusative case, it's not transitive. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So an intransitive verb can have an object that's not in the accusative case?
Right. If it's intransitive, it will not be in the accusative case.
Yeah, generally I've thought of intransitive as not having a direct object, but you're saying that in Greek, the intransitive verb could have an object, but it would not be in the accusative case. Did I say that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, incidentally, regarding the Holy Spirit not throwing around words, Uper and then Tuncano.
Yeah.
I did happen to study those words probably 10, 20 years ago or whatever. And one seemed to be some of the lexicons did not make much of a distinction, but one or two, as I recall, did make a distinction and one was a superior to an inferior, and the other was with regard to equals.
Okay.
In the idea of intercession. So,
Okay.
for whatever it's worth.
I'll have to study on that some. Okay, we're on lesson 23. I got the wrong file. Right here's where we are. Okay, let me go to this other file. I want to get into the lexicon file. Okay. Right here, he's telling with fugo. The dative is used after certain verbs which in English are followed by a direct object in the accusative case. So English and Greek don't always correspond. These verbs, although transitive in English, are intransitive in Greek. Does that make sense? Cannot therefore have a direct object. All right? And there are verbs that are transitive in Greek but are intransitive in English. So they don't, you got to be careful trying to go one for one from one language to another. That's a serious problem. Now we had this on page 19 in Robert, page 6 on our book. The direct object of transitive verb is in the accusative case. So that's right out of our book. The subject of a verb in the infinitive mood is in the accusative case. Right? So this is a finite verb, what he says. Right? The subject of the infinitive mood. So the subject of an infinitive is in the accusative case. All right, let's try. I'll get to one more thing down here. This is all in your book here. All right. The accusative case is used a so-called direct object of a transitive verb, although all the oblique cases may serve in this way. The accusative, all right, let me see here. I want to get transitive verbs. All right. Down here, it will tell you this if we look at it more fully. We're getting toward the end of the class, I'm sorry. But what we have here is we have genitive direct objects, and I have a file on this. We have, okay, going to find this right quick. Okay, right here. This is out of Nunn's intermediate grammar. Some verbs in both Latin and Greek are followed by a noun in the genitive case instead of in the accusative case. Such verbs, and also those which are followed by a noun in the dative case, are not really exceptions to the rule that all transitive verbs are followed by an object in the accusative case. For they are not properly transitive when they're followed by a case other than the accusative. Does that make sense? Basically, they're taking the indirect objects, what they're doing. Okay. And other sources out here will tell you the same thing. Okay. All right. I'm going to go back to the book, if that's all right. Any questions about that? If you have my Role of Women book, I have an extensive discussion of transitive and intransitive verbs in the book. So it gets into that and some of this information we have. All right. Let's go down to what we have here. We're going to take a quick look down here at our vocabulary, and I'm on the wrong lesson, aren't I? Yes, I am. There's the vocabulary we used. Okay, we want to take this for next week, and I want you to translate this, and we'll discuss it. So translate this. Now, if you do some checking around, you'll find that some of this stuff that he's having you to translate here like in text B, for example, down here, this right here is 1 John 2:3, and right here is John 1:34, John 1:34, Luke 13:2, John 20:29, and several of these are right out of the text of the Bible. Okay. So again, I took the file and put space between them so I can write my notes in there. And again, you can do what you like. All right. Are there questions? Shane, you got any questions?
No, sir.
Jeff?
No, sir.
All right. Well, we're missing 2/3 of our class. Okay. I'm gonna call everybody and see what's happening here. Make sure that, all right. They all talk like they'd be in class tonight. So we got Chris and Rachel and Luke and Thomas aren't here. All right. That's four of the class, and we got three that are here. So we got 4/7 of the class missing. All right. For the new students here, let me go back through one other thing that might be helpful to you. I won't get too far ahead of the other students that way. One of our problems is that sometimes we don't catch the subtle meanings, differences in our pronouns. Here, I'll find the file I want. Here. Now, James, this is going to be rehashed for you. I'm sorry. Okay.
Quite all right.
But ego is emphatic. Now, you don't have a table like this in your books normally, but I separated them out. We take amu and mu are both genitive singular of ego. But mu doesn't have the epsilon on it, and it doesn't have an accent. So it's enclitic. And enclitic means it's not emphatic. So these forms here are all emphatic, whereas these over here are enclitic. And ego doesn't have an enclitic form. It's always emphatic. The reason why, can you help me? Your verbs already carry their own verbs. They already carry their own pronouns with them. And so since they have a pronoun with them, if you repeat that pronoun by putting ego in there, you got that pronoun twice, I, which makes it emphatic. That makes sense? Same thing happened with Sue or you. And it's automatically emphatic because you got the pronoun you already with your verb, built into the verb. So now then, to make the other ones emphatic, if you want to have genitive, ablative, dative, instrumental, locative, and accusative as emphatic, they made a distinction in it. This is your emphatic and this is your non-emphatic form or enclitic. Okay, does that help? All right. Same thing with this right over here with the second person. Again, we have an extra omicron in it in these three or these two forms. And then we have it accented. There's no accent down here with these. So we have an accent. So we have the accent here and we don't have it here. So this one with the accent is emphatic. The one without the accent is enclitic. And here's the sources documenting what I've said. We can go to other books and get this. But Summers, in his elementary grammar book, page 42 tells us this. And then Perschbacher tells us this on page 235. And I went into Merriam-Webster and looked up the word enclitic. And it means to lean toward. It's from these two Greek words. Unfortunately, they're not in the New Testament. So I went ahead and got them and put them in our form, our lexicon form. So we'll find them, and then we're just about through here. There's that word. It means to bend or lean towards. So that's what my, let's see right here. Hold on. Oh, right here. That's what Merriam-Webster said, to lean toward it. So it leans toward it. So when it leans toward it, it's enclitic, it loses its accent. Its accent goes with the word before it. So it'll be with that word that leads it, or just before it. Okay. So again, there's this is from Liddell Scott. Liddell Scott doesn't have this word in it. My copy doesn't. I think mine's an abridged edition. And Donegan has it here. Now, last week, Donegan, I had it as an enclitic IN, and I read it, I thought maybe Donegan had it spelled differently, but I just copied it wrong in my materials. Donegan had it right the same way. So James pointed that out last week. I think it was James. Okay. All right. Are there questions? We're to the end of the class, basically.
On encliticos,
Yeah.
you see the accent sign, and then you've got the right there.
Right there.
Yes.
Some of your lexicons will put it on, some won't. Okay. So what I've done in this file here, if it's put two different ways, I'll have it one way, and then I'll have after it also accented. Let me find one right quick. So like right here, the die, sometimes it has an iota subscript on it. Some books do, some grammars and some lexicons will, some don't. So see the difference? There and there.
Yeah.
And so what I've done, I'm trying to, when I find them accented differently, I'm putting it as an alternative accent for you to use it for file. Does that make sense? Try to help you.
Sounds good.
All right. Are there any questions? Okay. I think all of you are in the flood class. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll start the flood class in just a few minutes. Okay? Get out this one. Completely get out. So we'll start over again on our system. Okay.